Okay, so start with just standing. And as always, giving yourself a little bit of time to get that feeling of settling in. Just bringing your attention into your body, into your posture. Gradually bringing your attention down into your hips, your legs, finally, your feet. And have your weight a little bit forwards in your feet. And just a sense of dropping back a little bit in your hips and knees. And turn in the center of your body. So that movement built up through your back, your shoulders, down into your arms. Not forcing the movement, just having a sense for how much space there is for the movement, however little that may be at the start. As you start to move, you warm up a little bit, that will increase. As you begin to lose some of the tightness in your body, areas like your shoulders, your back, your belly, again, that opens up space within your body. And as you lose some of that tightness and stiffness in the big muscles, and particularly your upper body, just reflect on how you're still remaining upright. What remains to support you? What do you feel is happening within your body? So that we start to broaden our perspective of ourselves. We tend to have a narrow view, an unconscious view, restricted to the upper part of the body, often front of our body, and maybe tight in our shoulders, continually holding ourselves up. With Tai Chi, we begin to broaden that perspective. We become more aware of our feet, our legs, our weight, center of our body. More aware of how outside body supports itself, apart from just that tightness in our muscles. These are always useful reflections at the start of a day, at the start of a practice session. Old habits of awareness, old habits of movement and posture don't just go away, unfortunately. We can begin to introduce this new view, this new perspective. That's an alternative to turn our attention to. There's also something that can be very calming, very centering, about bringing your attention into your body in this way with a very sympathetic view of the body, allowing the body to support itself, not forcing yourself into any kind of shape or posture. So, along with the settling of your weight, that opening up of your posture, perhaps just a similar kind of quality in your mind, in your awareness, just allowing some of the thoughts and the details, whatever's going to happen during the day, just to take a back seat for a little while. Notice the rhythm of your movement. You feel how, in various ways, we may notice a sense of connection through different parts of the body, particularly from our hips up towards our shoulders. Maybe that rhythm resonating a little bit, Maybe just feeling that when you turn in your hips and your waist, it pulls your shoulders around. Arms are very loose at the moment, with a very distinctive quality of movement. Imagine moving in water. Your arms have to be very deliberately, very intentionally drawn around. That intentional quality, again, begins to emerge out of the settling of our attention. And we begin to bring three elements together, three aspects of Tai Chi. I think of them as three treasures of our body, and the physical posture and movements, of our awareness, mind in one way or another, awareness, intentionality, calming, and of the movement itself, the flow, the momentum, the energy. These three elements supporting each other, gradually harmonizing, so that in the end there isn't a distinction between an intention to move and the movement itself, and a posture and a way of moving that allows the movement to flow more freely. Turning your hands palm forwards, just raising them up a little bit, no higher than your shoulders. Elbows always a little bit lower, and you've got this sense of your arms hanging. Again, your arms are quite heavy. They should feel quite heavy. Not in a dead way, but a vibrant way. Again, the image of moving through water may help in that. And letting your hands drop down. Now, turn one foot out, put the other foot forwards. Start to move your weight forwards and backwards, not too dramatically. Don't stiffen up in your knees, don't strain in your knees. And again, just feeling that center part of your body turning and movement going up again into your upper body and your arms. Just warming up your legs a little bit. Again, a nice steady rhythm, and try to take that rhythm from the rhythm of your weight moving from foot to foot. So we start to get a sense of very much moving from the ground, rather than a sense that we're kind of trying to throw our shoulders for arm response. And on the other side, bring your feet back to the parallel position. You want to have your feet widen up apart so that you feel they're supporting your hips, and your hips are supporting your shoulders. Try and have your waist a little bit forwards, but let your hips drop back. Just gradually beginning to bring yourself into line with the pull of gravity. That's both an attentional thing. We need to be aware of the pull of gravity, but also intentional. This idea that we want to get to a point where, rather than pulling us forwards or backwards, gravity's pulling us down into our feet, drawing our center of gravity down. Just slightly soft, slightly curved in knees and hips. Feeling almost of your pelvis hanging from the spine. And this helps us to release some of the tightness, some of the stiffness in our body once again, for this space within the body for movement. And then just letting gravity draw your hips back down a little bit, and then feeling your legs pushing you up to that top position. So within that space, and really by courtesy of the pull of gravity pulling us down, we initiate a very dynamic quality movement from the ground and back into it. Feeling that movement expanding up through the body, and then draining away again, maybe taking away some of the tightness and stiffness, allowing that to release as you sink down. Body filling up and emptying, filling up with what can feel like a much fresher energy. And then releasing the staler, tired energy. This time bringing your hands around as though you're cradling the ball. And as you push up, just let the expansion. Push your elbows out, and then as you get used to this process of bringing your attention to the movement, bringing your intention to the movement, you may find that you're able to focus on a particular part of your body. If you feel that, say, you've got a tight shoulder or stiffness in your back, don't dwell on this for too long, because we want to retain an overall sense of ourselves as we move. You may find that just that sort of gentle awareness of that bit of stiffness, as we get more used to that awareness being accompanied by our intention, and intention to move and intention to flow, maybe start to release some of those areas. If that doesn't work, then as you get to know the movements and the postures better, you may want to just adjust qualities a little bit, but don't be in a hurry to do that. And don't overdo that. And in the end, as I said, we don't want to dwell on those areas. So sometimes it's more useful to focus on those parts of the body that are moving more smoothly. Or ideally, on the sense of the whole body, that gentle rhythm of expansion and contraction, emptying and filling. Just moving your whole body as one unit. Now, rotate your arms so your fingers push away. This is the exercise, the wild goose. And one way that we may bring a sense of intentionality to the movements is through the use of imagery. The right image can produce significant effect within our bodies. So if the image of the bird in flight can convey a quality of smoothness of movement, of grace of movement, of flow of movement, may be useful to you. Try and make sure that the rhythm comes from your legs. Let me come closer so that you can see. My hands would disappear at this point, but notice I push up. There's the expanding movement, my arms follow. I sink down, there's the contracting movement. They're slightly exaggerated, but you want to feel that it's, again, as with the faster exercise that we did earlier, that the movement is from the ground, the rhythm comes from your legs, feet. And then your hands crossed in front of your belly, pushing up. People familiar with these movements, notice how the changeover becomes very smooth. This is another example of intentionality. You're familiar with the routine, familiar with the exercises. It doesn't take a massive effort, it's just a switch. There's an intention to change from one movement to another. And this rhythm, this movement through the body, downward with the pull of gravity, upward with that sense of resilience that comes from our feet and our legs, is actually a constant. Whether we're going up and down or not, it's working all the way through our body all the time, even when we're not doing Tai Chi. So again, we become aware of that. And we begin to work intentionally with that. So this time, your hands drop down, push up on one side, expanding through that side at the top of the movement, winding your arm around. So you're plucking something from the tree, pull down. And switch your attention and your intention to the opposite side. And pull down. So we recognize these very primal forces working through us. The gravity, that's expansion up from the feet and the ground. And with that awareness, we're able to choose, to make these intentional choices about how we follow that. It's like coming to a crossroads and seeing the exits and choosing the one that is most useful to you. Once again, bringing body, mind, and energy together into one union. And overdo the movement. And notice with this one how my arms don't go out fully. There's still a slight bend, a slight curve in my elbow at the top of the movement. We're not trying to stretch to the full extent, remembering to be aware of that sense of space for movement within the body. The energy will flow where there is that space. We don't have to make it flow. Now this time, don't go down any further, but just let your hips drop back a little bit, feeling in lower back, buttocks, hips, overhanging slightly, almost like you just sat on a fence, except you're not leaning forward, which is probably what you'll do in the fence. So aware of the space from there down to your ankles. Bring your hands to your sides, and then around in front, pushing up, keeping your hands just a little bit in front of your body, palms facing up, and back down. And then lift up again, and this time pushing your hands out a little bit to the sides and back. It's alternating those two movements. And notice what's happening in your back and your sides with each movement. Contrast between the sideways movement and the upward movement. Contrast between the expanding movement and the contracting. If we imagine that we're moving through water, or imagine some kind of similar resistance to the movement that encourages a little bit more effort, but not straining. And we start to get again a sense for the very distinctive quality of movement that we're looking through, all through the body. If we were really pushing against that kind of resistance, we wouldn't be using just our arms. We'd be using more of our body, engage much more of the body in the movement. Another example of where imagery really have an effect on how we're moving. This time, as you push out to the sides, you turn a little bit, the center of your body, noticing how that redirects your arms, and then back. Always coming back to the center, settling for a moment, turn in the other direction, and back, and then facing the front, the movement you've already done, pushing out sideways. So this is pushing in 4 directions. Beginning to recognize the significance of that center part of your body between hips and pelvis and your waist. This is the center of the movement, and it's the part of your body you want to feel is dropping towards the ground. Expansion and the contraction start and finish here. The direction of movement, particularly in our arms, comes from the center of the body. We learn that this is a place that we can bring our attention to. Get that feeling of being settled, being grounded. From that, it's a lovely sense of stillness, spaciousness that is, again, very characteristic of the art. One more round of this. There's a lovely line in one of the old writings associated in Tai Chi. It encourages to seek stillness within the movement. And it's very much a feature that it's not either or with Tai Chi. Final time. Your hands in, letting them drop down, where again with their weight hanging from the shoulders, and then just allowing the expansion to push out again on one side. This time your arms swinging up, and then straight down the center line of the body, nose to navel and beyond. Gentle rotation in your shoulder. And the palms to circle out. This time, when your hand reaches the top, see how it feels to turn. It can be quite a tight movement, so be careful. If you feel it's too tight, then leave it out. One more time. I'm going to change sides. So just in a sense of pushing your arm away from your body rather than lifting. So it will naturally swing up. Sometimes that sort of reframing our awareness of what we're doing once again, can have a distinct change in the movement itself, not straining so much perhaps to raise the arm. And then once again with the turn. One more time. Now letting your arms rest, bring your attention to your hips and your pelvis, and just gently rocking the pelvis forwards and backwards, letting that movement change the position of your shoulders, your head, tilting forwards, hips go back. So it's not a back bend, you're not leaning backwards here and you're not leaning forwards, because both of those would take you out of line with the pull of gravity, but rather here, you see my hips go back, my head goes forwards, but our center of gravity is still over my legs. Same thing here, doesn't go, you don't go back as far here. And just focusing on that movement that takes your shoulders forwards, sinking down, let gravity bring your pelvis back to the level by drawing your hips down and push up. And again, so try not to strain to come upright, but rather settle into this posture. We're going to use this movement in 2 exercises. Be very careful with your back and your knees, although it's a very smooth movement that we look for to come upright. It's still very strong in the body. Don't overdo this. This time, letting your arms follow. This is rowing a boat in the middle of the lake. I'm exaggerating the movement somewhat. You don't have to do anything like as big a movement as this. Just go as far as you're comfortable. The main feature of this, the main thing to be aware of, is what's happening in your hips and your pelvis and how that affects the alignment of your body. When we move in the center of our body, we affect the degree to which we're upright or not. When we allow gravity to pull our hips down, we can come up very smoothly, fluidly. Very different to the habitual way that we often stand, which is to strain in the upper part of the body. This time, combining both horizontal, vertical movements in the center of the body, hands palm down, turn horizontally, push your hips back to push hands forward, swing across. So come back to the upright and turn back to the center. And go in the other direction. This is called polishing the table. Notice how my hips move. I turn, then they go back. That's when the hands go forwards. Swing them across. Gravity drawing my hips down and then back. Just allowing back and arms to extend gently. Not straining. So very carefully. One more time. And then just standing. Aware of how your legs and feet are supporting you. Aware of how allowing your hips to drop back just a little bit helps you to be upright with less tightness, less stiffness in the upper part of your body. Aware of how your back supports the front of your body. So try not to pull your belly in, tightening your chest. And as you do release some of that tightness and stiffness, aware of that sense of support within your body, from the skeleton and the surrounding area. And the way that there's this interaction between the soft tissue of your body, the muscles and tendons, fascia and so on, the bones, usually supporting each other like two poles resting on each other. How that again encourages that feeling of space, movement. So body, mind, energy, once again all coming together. So this is not forcing our body into shape. It is not mind over matter. I think of these three elements, the three jewels, as being like the three legs of a tripod. They mutually support each other and are supported by each other. We may choose at one time or another to focus on one particular aspect, but the aim is to bring them together so that they don't exist as a separate thing. The the posture encourages movement, the awareness of the movement gives us clues as to what's happening with the posture and so on. So this sense of unification. So when we talk about the connections within the body, and again to quote one of the old Tai Chi writings, we say that when one part of the body is in motion, the whole body is in motion. We could extend that out to include all aspects of ourselves. That when we're in motion, the whole of us is in motion, is in motion, not just body, not just energy, if you like to think like that, but the mind is part of that process and an integral part of that process as well. Now, it's a little bit more complicated, so a bit more challenging to that quality of stillness. Start with your feet together. Turn your toes out about 45 degrees. Turn your heels out about the same, and then turn the toes out. If this is too strong a stance for you, then make it slightly narrower. But this is called horse riding start. So I'm just straight. Moving from side to side on this one. So you go to about 60% of your weight in each leg. And hips are hanging back. Sometimes you will see people in very, very deep stances, but don't, it's fine if you're comfortable with that. But really just allowing your center to settle. Feeling the transfer of your weight from the ground, remember. And as you move across, say, into your left leg, so mirror my movements, let your body turn to the left a little bit, move into your right leg and turn. Bring your hands around in front of you. Imagine them carrying something like a tray of drinks. So although they're just resting there, there's actually an active intention there. They're doing something. Now, go into your left again, and remember that those exercises earlier where we felt that expansion through one side of the body. Try that again and let that push your arm up until it's level with the shoulders, hand is palm up. Go across into your right leg, turn, and do the same thing again. Expanding in the right side of the body. Lower down. Now this time, as you go into your left, try and just make that happen all at the same time. And then this time, come across, drawing your hand across your chest. And here, turn the hands palm in so you're holding the ball. Move into your left leg, turn. And the same thing again. You go across that expansion in the right side of your body, pushing your arm up. The left contracts. So you're pushing down through the left hand. You come back. This is the movement part in the wild horse's mane. Across, hold the ball. So one move at a time, settling into your right, moving across, feeling the expansion through the left side of your body. Settling into your left leg, and then moving across back into your right and turning. And at the end of that turn, you turn palm in to hold the ball. And then across and turn. And with that quality of stillness within the movement, give yourself a chance to feel and complete each stage without hurrying. Even if that means a slight interruption to the flow, that will pass. Take your time. Give yourself a moment to settle into your left leg, relax your left shoulder, and then coming back. Settling into your right leg. The arms hold the ball, move across. Parting the wild horses. Stillness, retention. Coming from an awareness of our connection to the ground, through the center of our body, through our legs and our feet. So just each time you settle in one leg, give yourself a moment just to feel that. One more on each side. So there's an intention to come back to the ground. Come back to our center. And then just shake it. Excuse me while I get a drink. So there are times when we focus quite strongly on that sense of connection. We may analyze the posture, for instance, use different images, different ideas to help us ground ourselves. But it's one of these things that becomes intentional. It's quicker than thought to get a little bit of settling. You know, it's not complete, but it does mean that we get into this habit of on a regular basis, coming back to the ground, coming back to everything that implies. Our body better aligned, our body more stable with the root, our minds just calm for a few moments. The stream of thoughts and everything that can be associated with that, the anxiety and the rushing, tension and the stress, just interrupted for a moment. And that's one of the great benefits, I think, that we carry with us out of the practice. So with that in mind, from the parallel stance, imagine parallel lines going through your feet. Turn one foot out and step forwards, keeping the width of your step about the same in length. Transferring your weight, and think of this in 4 stages. 2 stages are very clear. The weight moves from front to back. The weight moves from back to front. Front leg to back leg, from back leg to flowing like water, filling up the leg and emptying from the other leg. The other 2 stages are less obvious, but just to exaggerate, I go forwards and I wait for that sense of draining down, like water filtering down through the legs again, filling up. And then I go back, and again, I can wait for a few moments here. Recognize that what we're doing is really recognizing the sensations, the qualities that we begin to associate with that aspect of grounding. I mean, as we begin to recognize them, they become intentional. Intention can be faster than thought. So in the end, you don't really see those two hidden stages, but they're still happening. It's just a moment in time. And once again, in that moment in time, we're just aware of that quality of stillness and spaciousness that is so very, very valuable to us. There may be times when we want to focus on it more strongly, of course, but just in a kind of everyday sense, even as we're walking down the road or at work or whatever we're doing for the day, we have the potential just to come back to this very gently. And it's a split second. Beginning and now, as you go into your back foot, you raise your toes, you can turn the front foot out, you go forwards, you settle in. As you settle in, you initiate the step. So it's not that nothing is happening in those moments of stillness. And we can often find ourselves in a frame of mind where we think we haven't got time to be still. We've got all these things to do. We have to rush around, multitask all the time. Tai Chi again urges you to seek the stillness within the movement. And in many ways, it's that quality of stillness that begins to enable movement. This time, bring your rear foot in, push the foot back, put the ball of your foot down, lower your heel, press the foot gently into the ground, and move the weight back. We step forward with the left, the heel goes down first. So in that moment of settling here, also aware of your posture. Remember, the alignment of your hips and your pelvis would have a massive effect on the alignment of your head and shoulders. So in that moment of just settling, we may find that our posture just adjusts. In time, we become more used to this. And once again, it becomes an intention. Not to rush, but to just take that moment every now and then to settle. And we feel that it has a profound effect on our stability and mobility. And then on the other side. And then, first of all, just transferring weight. Remember those 4 stages. There's a lovely poem by W.H. Davis that opens with the lines, "What is this world full of care? We have no time to stand and stare." It's very apt to Tai Chi. But we learn that actually we do have that time because it takes virtually no time. And often we find, well, I find that when we do take a moment just to settle, the movement is better, the activities go better. So we don't lose time at all. And then raising the toes and the heel. So remember that this process started today with those swinging exercises and that bringing your attention into your body. This is as much a part of the training in Tai Chi and Qigong as the physical aspects. Because we train not only muscle and tendon and ligament and fascia, train the nervous system as well. And the pathways that our attention follows into our body become more usable, more accessible to us. Bring the foot in. So calming down, quieting down for a moment or two. Doesn't seem quite the kind of distant task. Doesn't ceases to feel as though that sense of stillness or calmness isn't some distant, almost unimaginable point on the horizon, but it's actually very much available to us right there. And then either forwards or backwards, taking a few steps through. Take your time, remembering to plant the foot. Just noticing that sense of connection to the ground as you do. Change direction if you haven't done so already. Now, this isn't stillness or movement, but rather the combination of the two working together. Once again, they mutually support each other. Once again, have your right foot forward. So mirror my movements, keep the width of your step about the same in length. Start with your hands at your sides, your weight back and going forwards, and just letting the movement draw your arms to the side. See, most of the time my hands trailing behind my shoulder, only swinging through. So I settle in the body. This is called fisherman casting. As you go into your back foot, you feel that sense of compression, then expansion like a wave coming up through your body, pushing you forwards, bringing your arms through. The same thing, settling into your front foot, feeling the response in your leg again like a wave moving you back. Again, you could imagine moving through water. That slight sense of resistance, encouraging joints like your shoulders, your elbows, the joints of your wrists and fingers to just soften slightly. Because when we're in water, we realize that holding ourselves stiff makes it harder work. So again, it's a helpful image sometimes, how to generate this distinctive quality. Now this time, moving your hands back more in front of your hips, pushing forwards, that same wave-like movement. This time, letting it push your hands forward so that they swing up, elbows hanging down. Coming back. This is called pushing wave. So that wave is now a bit more directed, a bit more focused, slightly stronger in feel. Your elbows go out a little bit, chest opening and then contracting. The movement transmitted in various ways through the upper part of your body. Both of these movements, you're facing forwards, your weight is moving forwards and backwards, your arms are moving forwards and backwards. Now, next time going back, we're going to change that. Let your wrists flatten out a little bit, go back, turn it to the left, in the direction your left foot is pointing, and your arms swing down. And again, naturally swinging up to shoulder height, elbows down, move your weight forwards, turn your hands palm forwards, move forwards, turn, letting gravity draw your arms down, and then feeling the expansion through the right side of your body and going back. So you can imagine perhaps like a sideways figure of 8 in front of you that you're flowing through, or your fingers are tracing out, driven by the movement of your weight, turning your center, and that rhythm of expansion and contraction through your body. Smooth in your shoulders and your arms. The figure of 8 image doesn't work here. Some people like to imagine the infinity sign is used in physics and mathematics. and shake it. We're told the movement is rooted in the feet, transmitted to our legs, that movement of guided and directed through the center part of your body. Once again, emphasizing this sense of moving in a very centered way and expressed through upper body and arms. So now, have your left foot forward, start the same sequence again, starting with fisherman cast and neck. Maybe just managing to be aware of subtle changes in the upper part of your body, in your back and your sides, patterns of expansion and contraction. Bringing our attention and our intention sometimes to those, as well as still moving our weight, as well as still settling in. Because when we settle into the front leg, the arms swing through. Back. Same idea going back. So once again, just perhaps more in the back of your mind now, aware of that moment or two of just quietening and settling whilst your arms are swinging out. And from that position, if you like to think of like that of stillness, again, maybe that enables that sense of being able to observe and to work with those subtle changes of expansion and contraction in the upper part of our body. Once again, changing to pushing way. It might help you to have an idea of where you're pushing to, not too far from your body. So you're pushing something heavy, like having a friend push a bump start a car or something like that. So feeling that the movement comes from your whole body, it's not just the arms thrusting out. Remember, when one part of your body is in motion, your whole body. So a real sense of strength, a different quality of strength than how we would normally think of strength. Also, it's a characteristic of these exercises. A strength based on softness. So strength more like water than hard rock, shall we say. And of course, it's always the water that will erode the rock. One more time. And then as you come back, turning, expanding through the right side of your body, moving forwards, as the arms just swing down, and then turning and expanding to the knee. We can combine this with the stepping. So again, choose which direction you want to go. And I'm going forwards. As your hands come up, take your heel or your toes off the ground, bring the foot in, step forwards or backwards, and then complete the move, moving your weight in. Checking your posture just for a moment, and if all is comfortable for you, as you bring the foot in, you can then just raise the knee, plant the foot, settle in, don't rush this. And then change direction now. And then bring your feet down. Once again, step. Yeah. Standing can just remind us. It's a good way of just aligning your posture, but also once again just bringing your attention in. So maybe in that during the day when you feel you need to stand with the space, sometimes it doesn't have to be a fancy movement. Sometimes just standing, settling, feeling the pull of gravity through your body is very effective. Now, just rubbing your hands together and with the pads of your fingers tapping lightly over your face. And then palms of your hands working up over the head and neck. Down to one shoulder, your arm. And then on the other side. Bring your hands around your back, gently on the lower part of your back and buttocks. Around your hips. On the front of your body, your belly, and the upper part of your chest. All of these qualities that I've talked about are aspirational. It would be lovely if we never had to lose them, but it does that. You will find things in your body, blockages, and points of tension and stress in your life. This is just normal. What we can do is remember to come back. And remember how we come back, and remember, when we get used to this, it's a very quick process. It's a very simple process, not always easy to remind ourselves of this, though. So this last exercise really emphasizes that aspect of return. It's called Embrace Tiger, Return to Mountain. Engage with life, but remember to come back to that quality of stillness. So sinking down, pushing up, expanding in the first stage, but then bringing your hands around as though you're holding the ball against your chest. Drawing your hands in and then letting your hips sink and your arms follow. So pushing up and just aware of that pull of gravity on your hips and allow yourself to just yield to that. Once again, making use of that awareness of gravity. Letting gravity be the force that brings you back to the mountain. And whatever else is recognizable, what would be most useful to you later in the day? What quality, what sensation, what image is what you take away with you, and just hold gently in your attention when you just feel that it would be nice just to recapture some of that quietness, some of that stillness. That sense of the energy flowing perhaps. And stress. Okay. Thank you very much for joining in, everybody. As always, do feel free. If you have any questions, just to contact me. Bye for now.